Hello and welcome back to the Common Colt Podcast. The Colts Podcast with real takes and no clickbait. I'm Josh Hudgens, joined by Dan Hertzler. Dan, what's up?
Too much, not too much. Just going over the 53 man roster. We got cut day. We got Jonathan Taylor news. Kind of all this is kind of asking one kind of question that you and I are kind of debating a little bit here. We want to throw it out to those that are listening here. Uh, what do you think of this roster? I mean, is this a good NFL roster, or is this one of the worst rosters in the NFL right now? We got some questions here, Josh. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm an optimist in my heart, and as a Colts fan, I'm a little biased, and I think we admit that on the show. Sometimes we let our emotions get in our way. But when I look at this roster, I just have a few initial gut reactions. Only four wide receivers, and one of them's a rookie. And really, I mean, our receiving core is just thin. You look at our tight end. Somehow we have five tight ends on the roster. Our running backs, I know Jonathan Taylor's got his situation going on, but our running backs don't get me all hot and heavy. Darius Rush gets cut, and I know he was kind of beat out by Jalen Jones, but he was a little unpolished, and we knew that drafting him, so I was a little surprised by that as well. Um, I don't know. I'm not feeling good, man. Are you more optimistic than I am?
Yeah, I mean, we've been just dominated here in the offseason with the Anthony Richardson focus, and then the Jonathan Taylor news, and all that's kind of maybe made us forget about this full team that the Colts are putting together and some of their questions. And then you look at some of the decisions made today. Now we get it. This isn't the final deal. Like there's some other moves that are going to happen. There's some guys that they're hoping that will pass through waivers that will end up, on their practice squad, and maybe some of these guys they're hoping will fit through there. But you mentioned the four receivers. I'm not only talking about four receivers, but I see two outside receivers. I see all we got is Pittman and Pierce playing on the outside. I don't think Downs and I don't think McKenzie are going to play on the outside. So I'm really scratching my head there. I don't know what kind of offense you're running with five tight ends. So to me
Weird.
that maybe that's the place they're going to go find somebody, and then they're going to cut one of the tight ends. Maybe that's all that means. I don't know. I know some other teams, like I saw the Steelers. They're keeping two punters. There's no way they'll have two punters on their final roster. So to me that just means they're going to still work moves. Maybe that's what the Colts are doing as well too. But then the other problem, and we said this way back, as soon as they traded Gilmore and then the Rodgers suspension news came down, they needed to get a veteran cornerback, and they still haven't done that. And I look at this and I'm thinking, who's their number two? I mean, are you really touting your number one as a rookie? I know we all like Kenny Moore, but he's more of the slot guy. So who are your
Yeah.
outside cornerbacks on this team? I'm starting to wonder a little bit as I look at this team, and I'm looking around the NFL. I'm thinking this roster is not very good. This is not a
It's
very
not a
good
good
NFL
roster.
roster.
Yeah, and I seen a stat, and it kind of makes you feel good inside. Like the Colts don't have anyone over the age of 30. I think Ryan Kelly is tied for the oldest player on the roster, and he's 30 years old as our center. And it makes you feel good, but I think we didn't realize it, but we've just had a complete rebuild happen very quickly. I mean, trading Gilmore away, moves like that just kind of happened, and you're like, oh man, this roster is kind of thin, and four receivers, five tight ends, and these tight ends are all going to be they're young guys that need reps too. I mean, Will Mallory, I mean Ogletree, I mean Jelani Woods. I mean, these guys are all guys that need to see the field, and it's tough when you have five of them in the NFL where you're loading the field with receivers, not tight ends. I don't know, man. This is honestly, as I look through this roster, and if I were to grade it, if I'm just grading this Colts roster, it's a C minus. I mean, it's not a good roster, and I like to be optimistic. And maybe if we had Jonathan Taylor, I'll give it a C to C plus. But I mean, he can't move the needle that much as a running back. It's just the Colts, whether we want to admit it or not, the Colts are rebuilding. They picked top five. They got a new head coach. It's a youth movement, and we're rebuilding. And this might be the first time it's really slapped me in the face.
Yeah. There's a reality to this. we've seen NFL teams all throughout, the last 5, 7 years go from almost worst to first. And we thought, hey, the Colts were just a few years ago, they were a playoff team. They just needed a quarterback. And we just get a young quarterback, we plug him in. But then to your point, this is a lot more than just a young quarterback and a new head coach. This is a really changing of the guard. And, I know people in Chicago, they get all over, how Justin Fields was drafted and then they gave him no offense. They gave him no targets. They just kind of threw him out there. It's kind of feeling like the same thing that they're doing here now with Anthony Richardson, just kind of throwing him out there. Again, you and I both believe Jonathan Taylor's a great running back. We'd love to have him, but he's not worth the headache. And if they would have had a good deal, they should have done it, but they didn't. And now he's on the PUP list. And now you look and say, okay, so who's going to help Anthony Richardson in there? And then you look at the defense. Okay, is the defense going to be able to hold them or keep us in games? And even though Anthony Richardson might make mistakes as a rookie, the defense will pick us up. You look at that back end of the secondary and you're like, I'm not sure we will. So I'm not feeling so good right now, if I'm honest. And I agree with you. I like to be optimistic. I like to be real positive at the beginning of the season, but I look at this roster and I'm like, man, I hope they still have some moves in them, because this is going to be a long season. I think if we don't make some kind of one or two veteran good moves just to help this young team.
I think that obviously right when Luck retired back in 2018, they kind of had this nucleus around him. Obviously, they had Shaq Leonard drafted, and the team seemed like it was really primed to go on a run. We're in 2023 now. I mean, it's been 5 years since Andrew Luck's retired. That nucleus, I think what they're doing is they're saying, hey, look, we tried still trying to win with that nucleus. We tried the Carson Wentz thing. We tried the Phillip Rivers thing. Obviously, Jacoby Brissett didn't work. Matt Ryan didn't work with it. At some point, you have to kind of gut that. And whether you call it retooling or reloading, it's a freaking rebuild. The Colts are rebuilding. We got a new head coach and we picked top 5 and have a new quarterback. That's like, it really has slapped me in the face today just looking at that roster. It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, it's going to be fun to watch this young team grow, led by Anthony Richardson and some of these young pieces. But yeah, I think me personally, I was so just enamored by Richardson and this Taylor drama that I lost sight on what's actually happening with this roster. So, hey, regular season starting soon, so it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. But I think my expectations for the season have dropped a little bit.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the people have to say. Curious what the comments will be. Are they like us, where again we got lost in the headlines and missed the overall team, or maybe there's some of these guys that we're underselling, and maybe some of these guys are going to be the next guys up, the next man up, and they're just going to step right in there and hey, we're young, but they're good, and maybe they're a little bit more optimistic. But I'm kind of like you, like, yeah, I'll get there. I got 2 weeks to get there, to get my energy up, to get my excitement up. But there's just something about reading this 53-man roster, and I just was like, what? Like, what's going on?
It feels like practice squad guys.
Yeah, it did. It feels like we got a JV version of an NFL team instead of a varsity team.
Yeah, and again, one thing about our show, we try to keep it real. We're Colts fans, and we say authentic takes. This is how we actually feel, and the roster's not good. So we'll see, though. Like you said, roster moves are never done. I'm sure Ballard's keeping an eye on. I would imagine if they have to make a cut, they'll make it from the tight end position to kind of add a receiver.
They have to. There's no way they can keep 5 tight ends. Like, come on.
Yeah.
They got to make a cut somewhere there. They got to get a receiver. They got to make a cut at there.
Yeah,
it's just absolutely silly.
It's goofy. Well, guys, let us know what you think in the comments. Colts 53-man roster is out. Colts obviously in it with Jonathan Taylor. He's on the PUP list, so a lot of stuff happening. Comment below, subscribe. NFL is back. Colts are back in a few weeks. Join us on the ride. Thanks again for watching, guys. Have a great day.